Hey there, Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. Today I want to talk about a new unit that I'm going to make on portable power. Uh, I've seen them out there. Ryobi has now two different ones that you can slap it onto a battery and connect it, and the one will give you USB power out of it. It gives you two plug-ins for USB, and the other one has a 110 plug-in and USB plug-ins. That one runs about, I think, $60 right now. I saw it today. Um, the USB only runs about 25, between 20 and 25. So that gives you an idea what they cost. The biggest thing about this here, what I'm building, is going to be comparable to the larger one because I'm going to have on output, I'm going to have the 110 AC voltage. I'll have a 12 volt regulated cigarette lighter type plug-in, and then I'll have a multiple USB ports. Now, the one that Ryobi makes does not have the cigarette lighter port. You only get the 110 or the USB. So I really like to have that other one because there's a lot of things that I can use that for also. And I also want to remain open. The way I'm going to design this is I may even put a set of alligator clips that I can plug in, maybe some banana connectors or something. So I have some alligator clips that I can connect to it if I want to use this in some strange way that I hadn't thought of yet. Not that I would ever do that, but that's the idea. Is I want to make this nice little power pack unit that I'll be able to pick up and carry around. I predict it'll be about 8 inches wide by 5 inches, and it'll stand about 5 inches tall in all with the handle and everything for carrying it, I think. So that gives you a rough idea of what we're working with. It'll be pretty well open, so I'll be able to change pieces because this isn't for show. This is for me to use, and I want to be able to adapt it to do other things as I start thinking outside the box and figure out new things to do with it. It never ends. You know how it is around here. So anyway, let's go over the wiring diagram of how I'm going to do this. Then I'll show you the components and kind of how they're going to set together so you get an idea of the size and what these things look like. And we'll explain a couple of the components and what they do so that it'll help you to understand. If at the end of this you don't quite understand something, you can leave me questions, and no problem, I'll try to answer them as best I can. If you disagree with something, please tell me and tell me why, because I'm very interested, because I may not have this the way it really needs to be. This looks like it will work, and I have made another power unit before where I used 4 Ryobi batteries, and that gave me 20 amp hours of battery power reserve, which was a nice little unit. That was pretty comparable to like the Jackery or the Rock Pal unit. So, but this is going to be for a single battery. I think that really most of the time this would do a lot of the things that you would want to do if you need it. And in an emergency, it'd be really sweet to have too, I suspect. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the diagram, the electrical. I'll show you the components. And then in the next video, we'll show it all put together. So, as it will be at that point. So let me zoom in here on this so that if you want to, you can get a screenshot of it. I think that'll do it. So we have here, we have the battery, the negative and the positive coming out of the Ryobi battery. And then it'll come down to a buck converter, and also there's a voltmeter here to help monitor the battery voltage on the Ryobi battery directly, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So you have your positive and negative going into the buck converter here with a fuse going to the voltmeter here that will have a fuse on it. So this is all 18 volts on this side. Coming out of the buck converter, we'll have 13.0 volts. That's what I'll adjust the buck converter to. And first thing it'll do is it'll have a fuse. Well, on the ground side, that'll just come over here and run a ground to all 3 output units over here. AC inverter, that's a 110 outlet. So that will output 110 volts. This is the cigarette lighter outlet, and that'll put out 12 volts. And this is the USB connector, and that'll put out 5 volts. So the ground will run to all 3 of those items. Now I put a switch on these 2 here so that if I turn that switch off, these won't have any power. So if I'm only using this, I can leave that switch off so I won't be having to worry about these here while I'm using it. It has its own power on and off, so if I turn this off, I only am going to use one of these two, then I don't need to turn that on. I can turn this switch on and use these. Now, the USB, I put on a lighter fuse. I put probably a 5 amp fuse in to go to this. These are 2.4 amp fuse USB ports, 5 volt. And this is going to be a regulated full 13 volts, and it'll have the full 200 watts available to that plug-in right there. So that's kind of the basic system, how it's going to be set up. It's pretty simple. It's all 2-wire DC run. So now that you've seen it up close, and I think I've kind of explained to you how it works at this point. Let me zoom back out. Whoop. Here we go. Let's take a quick look at the components right here. And let me show you those, and then you'll see what we got. So we have our battery here. And this adapter I use when I did the power station. If you go to my playlist, portable power playlist, and go look for all the videos that say power station. And those are the ones where I did for Ryobi battery power pack. And I introduced these at that point. Thank you, George. I still got some of these, and very useful. George is the one that made these for me with his 3D printer. Go watch the other videos and you'll know how to get a hold of him. So anyway, this is designed to just set down on here. This is the positive side, positive on the battery, and it just fits over the stem. And then you just turn this a half a turn. And now it's connected. This one is pushed up against the connection there as you screw this one in, so that both connectors are now connected to the Ryobi battery. Now this whole system, you could do this with any tool battery. You would just, this is the part you would have to change to adapt it to your, be able to hook it up to your battery style, whether it's the Ego 40 volt battery or the DeWalt 18 volt or whatever it is. All of this would work theoretically on those battery packs too. I use the Ryobi because that's what I have. I went with that years ago, and so now I'm going to make a battery pack out of it. I'm going to use the same battery. So I'm making lots of uses for my battery. That's why I go with it. But any battery system will work for this. So anyway, so now that I have my voltage, let's check this out. So let's go ahead, take real quick, and let's put the power cables from off of this onto here, and ta-da, we have 20 volts, 20.8 volts to be exact, which means this battery is full. So now I can take this, let's take this back off before we have an accident. And so now the battery pack is going to set here with this thing plugged in on top. This is the 200 watt AC inverter. 4 USB ports here. You have vents here and here for venting it to keep it cool. So I'm going to use this surface and this surface to Velcro this down in this position on this side of the battery, so that my plugins are here and the switch is right here on this side. So, and then you can take, and this will be out of the way, your wires will be right here, so everything will be nice and compact. On this side, we'll put our buck converter. Excuse me. This is the step-down buck converter. You can see it, all the pieces in there. It has heat sinks, so you don't want to drown this thing and enclose it tight in a place, because you want it to keep air get to it. But we'll set this over here on this side, something like this probably right in here. We have our platform right here, so that'll be here. I have 3 of these inline fuses, which will go down in here somewhere, all 3 of them. And then this will set right here. This is the voltmeter, the 2 AC, the 2 DC plugins here, and the switch to control these 2 right here. And that'll all go right here, either be tilted up at an angle or maybe straight looking down on it to plug things in. This will probably, I'll cut the wire on this and I'll hardwire it in over here rather than using this plug-in to do it. I think that's probably what I will do, but we'll see. But at this point, this is the basic design. This is the basic size of it then, to give you a good idea. So it's not going to be too hard. I'll have a handle so that I can hold it right over the battery, so I have a center of gravity wherever that turns out to be for the handle. And this, when I flip the handle up to carry it, it should come up and lock down the battery, so the battery then will stay put in the little box that it's sitting in. And I'll still have access to this light bar if I want to, for some reason, check it here. So this is the basic setup. So you can expect to get this as soon as I get this put together on a board. It's not going to be real pretty looking, but it'll be okay. And more than anything, it'll be functional, so we can kind of play with it and see what we can do with it and think of new things to do. I may put a plate over here where I can put 2 banana connectors so I can get 12 volts on alligator clips, or some other thing I can plug in on a banana terminal type of thing, so that I can do lots of other things with this. So I'll probably put a couple of those terminals on here too, just for the versatile capability. So it's more than just a power pack. This thing will actually do a lot of other things before we're done, I think. So stay tuned. We'll see what we got when we get done, but I think this is pretty much everything I'm going to do. If you have any questions about this, any comments, any better ideas of how to do this, and yes, Gary, I'm going to use wire nuts this time around to put things together. Yeah, that was a great idea from one of my viewers, and the more I think about it, the better. I thought, yeah, by far that's the way to do it. But there shouldn't be too much wiring in here. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. Leave your comments, ideas, suggestions. It's all appreciated. If you learned something here, or if you like this video, hit that like button. It lets me know that I'm doing the right thing. I don't know if you guys are interested in portable power, but it does seem to be getting more and more people interested in it. And once you build one of these, I suspect you'll start finding uses for it. I know this when I built the other 2 I have for my portable power series. I've actually used those for several different things, and a couple of them I didn't know I would use them for. So it's a handy thing to have, and now I have 3 different ways. This will be my 3rd one here. If you're interested in it, Ryobi makes that one, like I said, with just the USB port. If you want me to make one like that, I think theirs is like $25, $20, somewhere in between. We can make one for less than $10, I believe. So instead of using the big inverter converter like this, a buck converter, they make buck converters like this. They go from the high voltage down directly to 5 volts. You have your adjustment screw there, and this thing is like a 3 or a 5 amp, I can't remember which, output. So you immediately, all you gotta do is hook up a USB plug-in on it, and you're good to go on this. This is all you would need. So you can make a pretty small unit that would just set that down on there and give you power for, this thing is less than $10. So you could actually do that. If you're interested in seeing how to build one of those, let me know. If you want to know where I got these, leave me a message. I'll try to remember to leave a link. I'll leave a link to all this in the description, hopefully. If I forget to put something in there, let me know. But I won't put a link to these. This is just inline fuses. You can get them anywhere. Just make sure the gauge wire will match a good heavy fuse. If you're going to put a 20 amp fuse or bigger, make sure this wire is bigger than a 16 gauge. So other than watching your gauge, these you can get anywhere though. So all the rest of this, I think I've got it. I will have it listed. So just let me know. But I think that's it. Like I say, hit that like button if you would. It lets me know I'm doing the right thing. But most importantly, please come back again, because I'm nowhere near done. Thanks, and we'll see you again soon.